Hi, I am a teacher of SM Nagar Derozio Sriti Vidyalaya. It's a school established in 1979. Um, so I am paying a tribute to the great poet and writer and great social reformer of the 19th century. I am just telling a few words about that great philosopher. Henry Louis Vivian Derozio was one of the earliest Indo-English poets. Besides being a poet of rare quality, he was an educationist, a journalist, and a reformer, which made him a controversial figure in the educated circles of Calcutta in early 19th century. Henry Derozio was born on 10th April 1809 of an Eurasian parentage. His father, Francis Derozio, being an Indian of Portuguese descent, and his mother, Sophia Johnson, was a British citizen. As a Christian, he was baptized in the same cathedral where 3 years later William Makepeace Thackeray, the famous British novelist, was baptized. The house on the lower circular road where Henry Louis Vivian Derozio was born was the property of the Derozio family. It is no longer there, but the cemetery on Park Street where he was buried still remains. At the age of 6, Henry was admitted in the David Drummond's Academy at Dharmatala, the school run by David Drummond. He was a man of great force of character, as well as something of a metaphysician and poet. In the academy, Drummond helped young Henry to sharpen his splendid power of intellect and imagination. During the period of 8 years at the academy, Henry developed a taste for literature and philosophy, and he read widely the works of British and European thinkers. He did extremely well at school, wrote verses for the several events, and received prizes for his achievements. He left the academy in 1822. At the age of 14, he joined the mercantile firm of James Scott and Company, in which his father was the chief accountant. The work at the commercial establishment was not to Derozio's liking, a mere drudgery, and after enduring it for 2 years, he left it and went to Bhagalpur in present Bihar to stay with Arthur Johnson, his uncle, the husband of his mother's sister, who was looking after an indigo plantation at nearby Tarapur. Derozio spent almost 3 years there, lending a helping hand to Johnson, and at the same time enjoying the country scenery, the luxurious paddy fields, the Ripon river, and enjoying the company of rustic people around him. This serene surrounding kindled young Derozio's imagination, and he began to write verses describing what he saw and imagined. Derozio started sending his poems to John Grant, editor India Gazette, regularly for publication under the assumed name of Juvenis. Grant liked his poems and encouraged him to continue writing. When Derozio came back to Calcutta in 1826, Grant persuaded him to get his poems published in a book. Thus came out the first volume of Derozio's poems, which were appreciated in literary circles in Kolkata at the time. This was when Derozio was still in his teens. Grant also offered Derozio the post of an assistant editor of Indian Gazette. Later, he edited the Calcutta Literary Gazette for some time. He also contributed poems to the Calcutta Magazine, Indian Magazine, the Bengal Annual, and the Kaleidoscope, which widened his readership. In 1827, the second volume of his poems was published, which included one of his most famous poems, The Fakir of Jangira. In this paper, I would like to say one thing. Professor Prashanto Samanto, he was the principal of Moyna College in the district of Purba Medinipur. He translated this book, The Fakir of Jangira, from English to Bengali. And I know another person who lives nearby our locality. Our locality means where the school is situated. Professor Rama Prasad Den. He is also a Derozian scholar. He has contributed many books to our library, and he says that if anybody wants to do research on Derozio, he will have to come to our school, because there are so many books on Derozio in our library. So through this video, I request to all the lovers of Derozio, or the Derozians spreading all over India and world, if you are interested to read more, want to know more about Derozio, please visit our school, which is situated at Shompa Mirjanagar, that is in it is within Rampur quarter, in the district of South 24 Parganas. So I request all of you to visit sometimes if you get time, or if you are interested to know more about Henry Louis Vivian Derozio. However, this book, Fakir of Jangira, raised him to fame as a poet of considerable merit, with considerable interest being shown in his writing by literary circles in London too. On his arrival in Calcutta in 1826, Derozio was also appointed assistant teacher of English literature and history in the Hindu College. Soon he was acclaimed by H. Wilson, visitor of the college, as one of the best teachers of the institution, who possessed the rare power of weaving interest around any subject that he taught. Apart from the subject content, the distinctive feature of Derozio's teaching was to awaken in his pupils' mind a love for truth and a spirit of inquiry. Being a free thinker himself, he encouraged the students to do likewise. He had a genuine love and sympathy for his students, which he expressed in a poem, expanding like the petals of young flowers. I watch the gentle opening of your minds. But his method of teaching, Derozio helped his students to develop a spirit of inquiry and rationality, and encouraged them to express their views and opinions without any inhibition or restraint. After college hours, the students used to meet Derozio either in the college premises or in his house at Lower Circular Road. These informal meetings took a formal shape of an academic association which he formed. He formed an association with his students and his friend circles. The name of the institution was Academic Association. It was an association of scholars, of the bright students. It was formed with the bright students of Derozio. Initially, the meetings were held in Derozio's house, but later, the meetings were shifted to the garden house of Sri Krishna Singh. During the weekly meetings, discussions were held on varied subjects like free will, faith, cultivating virtue, patriotism, God and idolatry, Some meetings were attended by a few leading intellectuals of the city. Assisted by Derozio, the students started a weekly, The Parthenon. The first issue contained criticism of some of the actions of the government as well as highlighted the depraved and barbarous practices of Hinduism. He is the first person, like Ram Mohan Roy. He also raised many questions against the superstitious beliefs or parochial mindedness or backwardness of the then people of Bengal in particular, and the people who believed superstition, bigotry and tradition, our own beliefs in the 18th century, 19th century in India as a whole. So the first issue contained criticism. The first issue of Parthenon contained criticism of some of the actions of the government as well as highlighted the depraved and barbarous practices of Hinduism. The authorities of Hindu College took a serious view of the kind of articles published, and the paper had to stop publication. Apart from such unorthodox expressions, the students also indulged in activities which horrified their parents, like eating beef and pork and drinking beer and alcohol in front of everybody. Now, which we see in Presidency College and Presidency University, and in the campus of Jadavpur University and many other universities in India. This practice, they initiated, I would say, the students or the followers of Derozio started while they were studying in Hindu College. So they started eating beef and pork and drinking beer and alcohol. The parents started blaming the kind of instruction which was given in the college. They collectively complained to the college authorities and even threatened to withdraw their words from the college. The very existence of the college was at stake, the management believed. So they blamed the teachings of Derozio for the waywardness of their words. The authorities of the university, of the college, soon took steps to remove Derozio from the service of the college. Derozio was charged with atheism and immorality, which he allegedly taught to the students. It was decided that Derozio, being the root cause of all the evils and cause of public alarm, should be removed from the college. In his reply, when the college authorities served a show cause notice, Derozio said that he vindicated his stand and repudiated all the allegations. After doing that, he had to resign from the college in April 1831, because at the time the college authority was not ready to accept this kind of behavior, this kind of words, this kind of instruction, this kind of open mixing, this kind of openness. This eating beefs, porks, and beer and alcohol in their homes or in parties or in clubs or in the association which they formed. So it created one type of fear among the parents and guardians of the students. They thought that it is Derozio who was teaching them, his students, all these kind of bad manners or bad things or bad habits. However, after quitting Hindu College, Derozio started the East Indian and Evening Daily on 1st July 1831. He was the editor as well as proprietor of the paper. He turned it into an organ of the Anglo-Indian community, projecting their troubles and disabilities and suggesting remedies. He was rather strange that a free thinker and a rationalist should be reduced to a communal crusader. However, his life was cut short, and he died of cholera on 26th December in the same year, 1831, in Calcutta. He was hardly 23, so only at the age of 23 he had to leave this beautiful world. Though he had great potentiality, he had great knowledge, he had great experience, he was a great social reformer, he was a social thinker, he was a person who could motivate young students, young minds, who could arouse patriotism among them, who could arouse free thinking among his students. So this kind of man had to live this beautiful world at the age of only 23. So he was only 23 at that time, while he taught rational thinking and virtues of truth and duty, all borrowed from Western philosophers and thinkers. He had not delved into Indian philosophical and religious works like Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, as his contemporary reformer Raja Ram Mohan Roy had done. As a result, Ram Mohan had a much greater impact on the society with wider ramifications. Derozio was never accepted as a role model for social reformers who followed him, but nobody could doubt his patriotism. Derozio was one of the early Indo-English poets who have left a mark on the literary horizon. He wielded a powerful pen. His imagery and power of description were of a high quality. There is music in his words and a rare depth of feeling. However, he lacked originality of style, and he tried to copy Byron and Thomas More. But it was perhaps inevitable. Those were different days, and to cut a new line for a youthful writer would probably have been a catastrophe. In spite of his limitations, he has an honored place among the early Indo-English poets. Derozio is still remembered mostly for the influence he exerted on his students and followers, popularly known as Derozians or Young Bengal group. They were the harbingers of radical thought which contributed to the Bengal Renaissance of the 19th century. In that context, he was co-adjutor of Ram Mohan Roy. Some of the Derozians who became famous and carried on the message of Derozio were Krishna Mohan Banerjee, Ram Gopal Ghosh, Parichand Roshik Krishna Mallik, and some other like these great people who carried forward the thoughts of this great thinker and social reformer. We also follow the principles of and teachings of Henry Louis Vivian Derozio, because on the basis of his idealism, the pupil of Champa Mirjanagar set up that school where now I am teaching since 2016 as the headmaster. Thank you. This was a small tribute to the great philosopher, to the great poet, to the great author. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.